Last time on the Jorge Joestar light novel, what just happened? And now, we will cover the last 8 chapters of this dreadful abomination. Hello everyone, this is the RPG Monger, and let's get right into it. And just in case you haven't watched part 1, I really suggest you do it, or this will make 0 sense. Back to Jorge Joestar, where he is taken to jail due to being suspected of his friend's murder, whose real culprit we'll get into later. Though, I guess Lisa tricks the guards with Hamon and stays with George in his cell. So that's fun, I guess. Though then, after getting out of jail, he becomes interested in cars, and that's a whole plot point that doesn't even go anywhere, so I'm just gonna skip it now. Because then, the sister of George's murdered friend visits him, and after almost being hung by Penelope's weird clown wound thing, she leaves and sparks George's interest in solving the case. But who cares about that? The chapter then ends with the Great War starting. Probably the tamest chapter we'll get from now on, believe me. Here we go. So back to Joji and Naranja, who were teleported onto a fucking spaceship. But it gets weirder because guess who's piloting the ship? Well, it's none other than Funnier Valentine and his crew made up of, get this, Poochie, Poco Loco, and Sandman of all people. Oh, and if you thought they had semi-normal stands, thank the hell again, because starting from the top, Funnier Valentine's stand rear window basically allows him to open portals and travel anywhere. That's totally not OP, right? Poochie is the only one who's normal here with the stand being still Whitesnake, which is kind of a relief, but that isn't the same for Sandman and Poco Loco. With Poco Loco's stand Right Stuff, which is literally just 6 robot people things who just do stuff, and that's it, that's all they can do. Best stand, 2017, let's go. But then I saved the best for last, with Sandman's power being, you guessed it, sand. Just actual sand, nothing special about it, he can just control sand, and there's this weird plot point where his body's partially made out of sand, but let's skip that, it's kinda dumb. Oh, and I never mentioned it before, but Naranja's stand, Aerosmith? Well, not anymore. Now, it's Das Boot, and instead of an airplane, it's a submarine that can split into smaller submarines and shoot missiles. So after a bit of a skirmish between Naranja and the crew, tentacles start coming out of Mars' secret moon, because that's how moons work, right? Oh, and then Poochie disciplines Naranja for being too rowdy. There's just something about Poochie slapping Naranja that gets me every time. But this moon isn't your ordinary moon. Oh no it isn't. It's being held in orbit by a man running across Mars with a string attached to the moon. But this isn't any ordinary man. It's cars, everyone. It's coming, guys. The moon turns around and it's a fucking eye. What is this? And after bombarding the eye moon with missiles from Das Boot, Poochie, Naranja, Sandman, and Poco Loco go to Mars to try to talk to cars. But then in the twist of a century, it so happens that Funnier Valentine kills them all with his stand. Or so it may seem, because Sandman survived and used all of the sand on Mars to come back to the spaceship and get revenge. But he dies anyways. Oh, but Naranja and Poochie also survive and then just shoot Funnier Valentine to death when he tries to escape in an escape pod. But then, after Naranja and Joji go into space inside of Das Boot, Cars comes in and announces that he can build a ship out of, wait for it, here it comes. Are you ready for it? 36 satellites from the 36 times the universe reset from Made in Heaven. But wait, there's more, because then the moon breaks apart and becomes 36 cars on Mars. There it is, folks, the meme you've all been waiting for. So then the chapter ends with them inside the ship made of cars being powered by cars. Please kill me. So here we are in peaceful not 36 cars on Mars world with George heading off to the Great War as a pilot, and as he shoots down plane after plane and saves a buddy of his, a strange zombie made out of only skin latches onto George's plane. But this isn't any ordinary zombie. This is the zombie of George's childhood bully. Yes, this guy. But it gets weirder. Since his mom would peel his skin every year to make art out of it, his body had adapted to peel skin every year, thus making the zombie able to peel its own skin and replicate every year, making over 1,000 by the time George encounters him. Believe it or not, out of all of the things, this is a major plot point. So after the zombie of George's bully, Antonio, goes inside of George's comrade and makes him pull out his own guts, George meets the Hamon master Tom Petty, and they discuss the natures of the Antonios. It's from here on out where shit starts getting really bizarre. Alright, With Joji, Narancia, Cars, and an unconscious Pucci, they ride the Cars ship back to Earth, and after having a talk with Joji about Joseph, who has apparently died from cancer 2 years ago, rest in peace, he learns about the concept of stands by discovering one of Narancia's submarines inside of him, and after taking apart the stand, plugging in its computers into him, he projects the images inside of Narancia's mind, and those images are the alternate Trish, who is a porn star in this world, and after Narancia freaks out over Cars browsing his mind, he just gets the stand, because that makes sense. But it doesn't stop there, because then he also gets Whitesnake, but this is an ordinary Whitesnake. It's Whitesnake Ultimate with 3 heads and cars written all over it. Please end my suffering, I can't take any more of this. Thanks, Otaro Maijo, for completely fucking up the rule of only having 1 stand per person. Like, cool, he's the ultimate life form, but still, come on, man. Oh, and also, Cars made the stand error, I guess. Though then, after getting Joji's memory disk, we get the story of Dio from this world, who died in a train robbery along with the Jonathan of this world. Though anyways, somehow, they were already arriving at Earth sooner than they expected, almost as if time had been going faster. And with the stand disc of Das Boot, Joji and Narancia fire a ton of missiles at all the planes that were trying to flip Morio over. And thus, then the ship re-enters the atmosphere, burning up all the extra cars, with Pucci going insane over Nero Nero Island looking like a rhinoceros beetle. But then the ship crashes into Morio, knocking Nero Nero Island off and flipping the entire island over, and on the other side is Great Britain. What? Now, even George's story has gone off the deep end, with him, Lisa, and his friend Steven Motorized going off to fight zombie pilots, all possessed by the Antonios. And I'm not really gonna say much about this, because honestly, it's just kind of a cool fight, albeit with a pretty crazy basis. So after that insane fight, Lisa and George begin to plan to get married, only for George to get Lisa pregnant. Though it's fine, because then Speedwagon appears for the only time in this entire novel to send them hundreds of gifts. Then Jorge Joestar is born, and then the wedding is finally held, only for it to be completely crashed by the Antonios, and them killing off all the characters we'd sort of grown somewhat attached to. Going back to my video on killing off characters, this is a prime example of how not to do it. Though then, right when George was about to die, his Japanese friend appeared one last time. And then, George gets teleported to Morio! Great! Fucking great! And then, back in England, Penelope, in rage over George's supposed death, creates a locked room out of all of the 920,000 Antonios, effectively creating an Antonio dome around England. And thus, the only plotline that made sense has been utterly destroyed. So with the roles reversed, George being in Morio and Joji being in England, things are about to get weirder. After emerging from the Cars wreckage, they explore a bit and find out that the entirety of England is infested with zombies. Though then, Joji meets Penelope, killing all of the zombies with her locked room, and Cars then meets baby Joseph and has a strange interaction, with Cars saying that he doesn't kill children, even though he literally kills children in part 2. So nice consistency there, pal. Now, with Penelope added to the party, Bruno calls through the Pebble phone, informing the party that both Diavolo and Kira were found dead in the Aerocross house. What? Oh, an alternate Abacchio stand is called the Videodrome, and it takes memories in the form of videotapes, which is cool, other than the stand looking derpy as hell. But then, a funny Valentine appears along with the not-so one and only Dio Brando, with Dio being actual Jesus with holes in his hands and feet and a crown of thorns. Seeing this, Pucci goes full heaven and attains sea moon, but that's not enough, because then Pucci goes full heaven and goes directly into maiden heaven. I'm telling you, part 6 would be very different if this is how they decided to handle Pucci. So then, right before Pucci went into maximum heaven overdrive, Dio abuses him verbally, and the giant Antonio swallows him whole, spitting him out on the other side of the dome, where he then sped up time everywhere but inside of the Antonio dome. Then, just like that, the universe fucking ends and begins again 36 times, bringing Great Britain to 2012. Now, I know you're going to be angry at me, but hear me out. I'm going to have to put the 2 final chapters in a 3rd part to this hellish series, since they take up a third of the entire novel, and to do them any sort of justice I have to make a separate video for them. But instead of having to wait another week, I'll have it up by tomorrow, so stay tuned. Also, the winner of last week's poll was, you guessed it, NYPD Blue, who, I'm not gonna lie, was hoping would win. So now, let's have another poll. Which funny is your favorite? Funny Valentine, Funnier Valentine, or the funniest Valentine? Leave your answers in the iCard in the corner of the video. So that being said, if you enjoyed watching me suffer, do subscribe and spread these videos. Not a lot of people know about the light novels, and I'd love it if I was the one who brought them into this hell. But anyways, today's cool thing of the day is my good friend Silkrick, who recently started a channel where they're going to make chiptunes every week, and I'm not going to lie, they're pretty good. So check them out and give them some support. Links in the description. And that being said, I'm the RPG Monger, and don't forget that each and every one of you are fantastic.